5:30.
That hurts.
Everybody's awake.
Huh? Can't hear you.
Let's throw yours away. Test, test. Mine's okay. Technical difficulties, and we will start immediately. All of a sudden? Okay. I have already called the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Meister,
Present.
Councilmember Beltran,
Present.
Councilmember Wyrock,
Present.
Vice Mayor Carrillo,
Present.
Mayor Flores.
Present. We'll now go into oral communications. This is the opportunity to address the city council on any matter scheduled for closed session. Unless additional time is authorized by the council, all commentary shall be limited to 3 minutes. Anyone for closed session items? Anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. City council closed session items.
Thank you, Your Honor. We do have 5 items before you this evening. The first is pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators, property APN 260300030, agency negotiators Patrice Hildreth and Jason Ridenour, negotiating parties City of Porterville and Self-Help Enterprises under negotiations, terms, and price. Number 2 is pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.7.6. Did I say that right? 54957.6, conference with labor negotiator, agency negotiators, Patrice Hildreth and Juliana Andrade, employee organizations, management and confidential series. Number 3 is pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, City of Porterville versus Tulare County Regional Transit Agency and Abul Hassan, Tulare County Superior Court case number VCU 312913. Number 4 is pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D3, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation, 3 cases in which facts are not yet known to potential plaintiffs. And lastly is pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation, 2 cases.
I believe that was one case, or is it? One case on that one. Thank you so much. It is 5:34. We are now going into closed session. It is 6:30. We will reconvene open session and report on reportable action taken in closed session.
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Thank you. I invite you to please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Beltran. Remain standing for an invocation or a moment of silence.
Salute, pledge.
Is there anyone that would like to come forward and lead us in an invocation?
Father God, I come before you in the name of Jesus. I ask you, Lord, to touch our mayor, touch the city council. Let them help them to make right choices for the city of Porterville. God, we ask you to be a blessing to them. Put a hedge of protection around them, God. Give them traveling mercies wherever they may go. And God, we ask you to be with them. We thank you for them, and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? You may be seated. We will now move into oral communications. This is the opportunity to address the city council on any matter of interest, whether on the agenda or not. Unless additional time is authorized by the council, all commentary shall be limited to 3 minutes. You will be asked to state your name and city of residence for the record, and we will continue to adhere to the 3-minute per speaker time period so that we can continue in an orderly fashion with the decision-making responsibilities this evening. Is there anyone that would like to come forth? Please do so.
Hello, my name is Rafaela Woods, and I work in Melser Realty in Porterville. I probably won't speak for 3 minutes because there's only one point that I really want to make. Item 25 on the agenda, we're still arguing over this city manager thing. So, sorry, I took a picture because I have to make it bigger because I don't have my glasses with me. But in the Porterville Charter, it's stated very clearly what a city council member duty is. And it says, you know, you have some responsibilities, passing ordinances, levying taxes, awarding contracts, appointing the city manager and the city attorney. Your job is not to wait for someone else to get in your position to do your job. It doesn't matter how much you get or do not get paid. You've been voted on to do your job, and I beg you, please do your job. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Please do so.
My name is David Horowitz. I live in Porterville. Last time I was here, we discussed the problem with trash. I made some statements that probably offended some people. They were not intended to offend. They were intended to get you people to open your eyes. Because unfortunately, I think we're sitting here with closed eyes. When you've got a city management that does not care about the citizens, that does not care about cleaning up downtown, and then spreads untruths, I'll put it politely, after a person has left. The facts of the situation with the tire are this. The tire was removed from the dumpster by me. No one else, no city employee removed it. They did not come and empty the trash and then come back to get the tire after they had removed it. The tire was removed by me in order to get the city workers to do their job. We're having a problem not only downtown, but I've spoke with my wife's doctor and around the doctor's offices. They're having a problem. We can't get trash collected. If you don't want to collect the trash, then the homeless people come and throw it all over. I have photographs in my phone I can show you of what's happening behind our stores because they refuse to empty the dumpsters. I don't understand what is so hard about emptying a dumpster, because it's not like in the old days where the gentleman had to get out and pick up the trash can and empty it into the back of a truck. He sits there in his seat And with his hydraulics or whatever it is they use, they empty the damn trash cans. It doesn't take an effort other than this. So their hard, fast rules that you're making are not beneficial to the community. I've had feces that I had to clean up again the other day because the city refuses to deal with it. I've been told another method to look into, and I'm going to look into that. Is it an environmental issue, and do I need to turn it over to somebody that controls environmental issues to get it taken care of? Because whether you like it or not, nobody wants to walk around downtown with their children when they see piles of feces. It's not good for our businesses. And quite honestly, it's the businesses that are the life system of this community. We're the ones that support your Little League. We're the ones that support your high schools. You're not getting that from your corporates, you're getting that from your privates. So if you're not taking care of us and you're not creating an environment that's good for us, it's not good for the community. And that's been the problem with management of this city so far. They're not interested in doing what's right for the community. They just want to make their rules. And they need to start telling the truth when they speak, because the tire was removed by me. Did I enjoy getting in the dumpster and removing the tire? No, I did not.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Please do so.
Ed McCurvey, District 4. Good evening. I know number 25 is probably the most important thing on the agenda tonight. You know, the city manager position is nearly $250,000 with pay and benefits. Very important positions. The one, as the previous speaker talked about, is most important for our city. And sometimes we keep a city manager for a long time if they do a good job. I would just like to go on the record again and ask about what the plan is, so that the public knows what the plan is, as far as the secession plan, whose plan is it, and who came up with it. This process needs to be transparent to the people. It shouldn't be voted on behind doors. It should be something that's done out in the open like they did in Lindsay. And I would tell you that right before an election, putting in a key position takes the vote away from the next council that will be seated in 2025. The people are voting right now. The people will speak on November 5th. And that council is the one that has the duty and will be working with the new city manager. We need to make sure to not take that away from the voters. This vote about getting a city manager in here on some sort of a secession plan might seem okay, but you know what I've noticed is that people that claim not to be political, people that claim not to be above politics are the most political of all. Yes, it is our duty to do that as city councilmen, but the new council needs to pick that manager. And then we need to pick one because it's going to be the manager that's going to be steering the city in the foreseeable future. We need a strong city manager that can do this job well, and it's unfair to anybody that you put in there to put them in this way, because they'll always be remembered as someone that was put in by a political decision made by this council right before an election that took the decision away from the people. It took the decision away from the next council that's going to be working with that city manager. Make sure you do the right thing. Make sure you protect the trust of the city. Make sure you protect the image of the city and do what is right. I am certain if you put this person in that is on a limited term, that person then could be confirmed by the next council and be seen less political. And I'm certain also that if we decided to put this off, that the acting city manager that is retiring at the end of the year would extend her role so that we could get this job done right for the next generation in this city. This is a big decision. It's one of the most important decisions that the city council makes. Let's make sure that the people vote for the city councilman. They're going to make this decision for the years to come in front of us where big changes are made. It's a big responsibility. It's not something to be taken lightly, and it should not be a political decision. It should not be a political vote. That's my time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Please do so.
Brock Neely, address on record. Yes, item 25 is probably one of the most important things on the agenda, somewhat. But it seems that the only person that seems to think that it's going to be a political process is the one that's making the political process. It's also one of the people in this town that probably doesn't adhere to any laws or codes as presented by government or by the Supreme Court or any other legal binding body. His actions are awful, horrendous. He will be a disaster for this city if he's elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Please do so.
Good evening. My name's A.J. Rivas, and I'm running for District 3. Members of the City Council, the purpose of my appearance is one of great concern to me and to the City of Porterville. It appears that this evening your agenda, 25, is to vote on the new business manager before the new candidates are elected. I respectfully request that you withhold the hiring of this business manager's position until after the upcoming elections. As one of the candidates representing District 3, I will potentially be working closely with the city manager for the next 4 years. I think we should have a choice who is going to be elected after the fact. And I believe it is important that whoever is elected has the opportunity to select someone they can work effectively with. This decision will impact our city's future growth, I believe. And I want to ensure that we have the right person in that place for a strong partnership moving forward for the city. In closing, I ask each and every one of you before me and these people around behind me, are you an individual leader looking out for the best interest of this city, or are you just going to be a follower? That's what I ask. And in closing, thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Please do so.
Good afternoon, John Duran, 476 North East Street. I'd have to agree with, I guess, that gentleman, Mr. McCurvey, and I agree with everything he said. You people are elected officials. You represent the residents of your districts. In selecting a manager, in this item of 25, in selecting a manager, you're taking it upon yourselves and not giving the people that voted you in the opportunity, the privilege to go ahead and voice their opinion and the recommendation as to who they want in that position. I know City Council has that privilege to select, but you've selected other people in the past which haven't worked out. 3 of you people, I guess, are on your way out. You're not seeking re-election for whatever reason you may have chosen. We've got a new administration coming in. Allow them to make their own decision as to who the next manager is going to be, because it's a very important position. Not only that, but they represent the people. The city manager has a big responsibility and has to deliver to the residents. And of course, through you people, they will do that. I'd have to disagree with Mr. Looney saying that other gentleman, because I know him a little bit, but, and I'd have to disagree with him. He's a fine man. I think he's going to make an excellent city councilman if he gets elected. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Please do so.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Stan Green, and I will be the incoming new council member for District 5. And I just briefly want to go on the record. I wholly and completely agree with Ed Rivas, or A.J. Rivas and Ed McCurvey, that the incoming city council members should have a voice and an opportunity to choose the city manager that they feel will help propel our agenda and our vision for the city of Porterville. And doing so from this side of the fence, the optics aren't really great. Pushing in a new city manager ahead of the elections, but I'm just asking you to reconsider postponing hiring a new city manager until the new city council takes their seats. Lastly, I can't imagine the city of Porterville grinding to a complete halt because we don't have a city manager for 2 or 3 months. And Ed brought up the point, which I have on my card, about maybe Patrice would be gracious enough to reconsider her retirement and postpone it for a couple of months until the new city manager is seated. You know, we must keep in mind, and I think acutely in mind, that we're not here to serve our own agenda, we're here to serve the people. And I've only got one dog in this hunt, and that's for the folks. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Please do so.
I'm sorry. You know who I am, and I'm here for other purposes. But it seems to me that there's been a lot of not reading what's on the paper. Consideration of process for selection. Right now, we're looking for a process. We're not ready to hire. We're looking for a process. Which process are we going to use to hire someone? That's what it says right here. We got to do this, baby steps. Decide who we're going to have help us with recruitments, what we want as our requirements. Are they the same as they've been before? We have to do all that before we can even consider recruiting.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward, please?
Hello, my name is Jesse Vasquez, retired peace officer, retired veteran. Ms. Carrillo, I voted for you. Don, I don't know, my daughter didn't vote for you. I don't know how you got in there. Ms. Flores, you're leaving. I would hope that you guys could wait on voting for the city manager. Wait till the process of voting is put in place. I agree with Ed. He's a good guy. I believe in A.J. Rivas. I talked to these guys. I haven't talked to none of you, but I'm asking you now, if you can please wait until the voting's over. Ms. Curley, you're stepping out. Ms. Flores, you're leaving. Don, I'm sure you're leaving. Like I said, nobody voted for you. I asked my daughter. She voted for somebody else, which he got put out. But all I'm asking is wait for the other 3 gentlemen, or whoever they are, to get in process and vote for the city manager. City manager is a major part of the city. The city, to me, right now, is like crap, okay? I could live anywhere in the world, but I chose to live here because I was raised here. I worked in the fields when I was young, worked my way out. And now I'm here, and I'm disappointed on what's going on, especially with the city here. You guys don't listen to the people. You need to walk out there, take a look out there, and talk to the business people, talk to the ordinary people like me. I just want to be left alone, come here and enjoy my life, but I can't. Homelessness everywhere, crime, trash, ridiculous. I'm embarrassed. I went to Exeter to the parade to see the cleanliness in the city. Come here, shops are closed, terrible. People sleeping on the streets. So I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Please do so.
Thank you. My name is Teresa Gonzalez. I reside at Plaza de Santa Fe, 250 North 3rd Street. What I'd like to bring forth is we have a consistent problem there. We have many seniors crossing the street. There is not a 4-way street light, and there's a blind spot there. We have seniors in walkers, seniors on canes, in wheelchairs. There are many accidents there. I did talk to Corporal Lightfoot, and he suggested that I bring this forth at City Council, and I'm asking to be mindful of the seniors. They have walking problems, and there's no crosswalk, there's no lights flashing, and it's dangerous. My patio faces Putnam, and I hear the accidents, and I also hear and see the near misses. So it's a great concern, and I'm trying to be a voice for the seniors at Plaza de Santa Fe. And if I need to bring forth, if I need to go measure the street, I'll do it. If I need to get a petition, I will do it. If I need to bring the seniors here to talk to you, it is a great concern, and it is a safety hazard for all of us.
Ms. Gonzalez, please leave your contact information with city staff. please.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Please do so. Do we have anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Then we will now move on to the reports. This is the time for all committee, commission, board reports, subcommittee reports, and staff informational items. Parks and Leisure Commission.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I am Parks and Leisure Services Vice Chair Arlene Pena with our commission report. The Pioneer Day and Rib Cook-Off Zalad House fundraiser had a huge turnout. The pageant, rib cook-off, reenactment, and other activities all went very well. It was great seeing all of the action on Main Street return. Corporate games recently concluded with Downtown Realty and Walmart Distribution Center tying for the Championship Cup. 15 teams competed and had a great time. As for our youth sports, fall soccer is down to its final 2 weekends at the sports complex. Youth basketball practices will begin in a few weeks. The public has until October 20th to register for the 4th annual Halloween home decorating contest. Prizes will be awarded to the top 3 homes, plus a People's Choice Award. And then registration is underway for our annual Veterans Day Run and Walk. Young and old alike are welcome to participate in the 5K run, 5K walk, or 10K run. The race begins at 7:30 a.m. in front of City Hall and concludes just prior to the Veterans Day Parade. And that concludes our report. Thank you for your time. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much. Library and Literacy Commission.
Well, I have some good news. We held our elections last week, and we have a new chair and a vice chair. Sonia Lopez is our new chair, and Irene Ortega is our new vice chair. These 2 individuals are very active in the literacy of our community, and they promote it by actually physically working and volunteering. And we are happy they are on our commission, and we look forward to working with them as our leaders for the coming session. I have a 2 months report, because that's what we got last time. We had a wonderful sabbatical. The library, well, oops, that's the wrong side. My marker goes straight through, goes to show both sides. For August, the highlights, the virtual story times, which are held every Tuesday, at 10 a.m., the Facebook, had 565 English story people and 606 Spanish. That's 1,171. As you can tell, the numbers are staying pretty consistent. The adult book club read 1 for the Blackbird, 1 for the Crow, and they had 13 members this time. The bilingual story time at the library had 91 participants. Family literacy, which is every Thursday of the month at 5:30 p.m., it's for families, had 54 participants. Game day activities, again, 57. The young adult book club actually read a book that I read. It was good, too. It was A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah Miles. And they only had 3 people who read it. Unfortunately, I discovered it's 1 out of 5, so I got 4 to go. There was a tropical health fair at the casino, and they had the spinning wheel where they could do different things, and there were 305 participants at that. That's quite a large number. We attended a health fair that had 1,200. They helped provide information table for the community for the Central California Legal Services. I'm going quickly, I'm not going to extrapolate. Summer reading finale had 175 people there. And what it had was, it had E.M. Reptile, visited the library bringing snakes, frogs, bearded dragon, different things like that. Things that some people go ooh to, but most kids love. Or at least my grandkids did. First chapter, Friends, read Here's Hank and had 3 participants. There was a back-to-school car show at Pleasant View Elementary, and there were over 600 participants in that one with their spin wheel. And, you know, they received promotional giveaways. There was an event at Galaxy, which had 61 participants. The National Night Out at Centennial Park was 187. Crafts for the month were 103. And in the literacy, the learning, those who are learning to speak, read and write English, Daisy is practicing and able to now have simple conversations in English, and James is improving his reading skills in leaps and bounds. For September, the virtual story times on Facebook had 824 English, 571 Spanish, which is a total of 1,395 participants. I was one of them this week. The adult book selection was The Secret Book of Flora Lee, and there were 10 members who got that book and read it. Bilingual story time had 66 participants. Family literacy, 52. No, excuse me, 52. Game day had 66 participants. That's one's fun to watch when they bring the games and other people join in. You never know what you're going to play, what's going to be available there. I find that refreshing. The young adult book club was She's Gone, and they only had 4. They've had signups again for the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten Challenge, and there are 15 new participants. Legal services again. Family Literacy Day was right over here on the 21st. Sonia was there, Irene was there, I was there. You'd be a lot of people, even Vicki was there. She came to see how we were going to be doing. That was fun that day. All the kids, because all of them ended up getting books from one place or another, and they were holding on to them so tight because they got to choose which out of the books were there. And to me, them holding it tight to their chest is an indication of what books mean to some of the young ones and that their parents are on the right track. We had 275 participants at the library table. And it was a large team. There was a therapy dog there. The little libraries were there. Different groups were there giving books. And it was fun. It was exhausting, but it was fun. They have a set that in September they set up a book display of national books that were banned. John Day Doyle had an informational booth, and we had 132 participants. National library card sign-up was 175. So you can see that we're going. And in September, Alicia improved so that she can now speak in English with her sons, the educators at this son's school. And Araceli continues to learn more about living in America. Literacy is the mainstay. Ignorant people who are only ignorant if they don't take advantage of what's in the community. And Porterville has always been excellent at providing literacy services, and I'm proud to be on the commission.
Thank you very much. Arts Commission, no report. Animal Control Commission? No? Youth Commission?
Good evening, Mayor Flores and City Council members. My name is Andrew Donkey. I go to Porterville Military Academy, and I am a junior there. I am here tonight to represent the Youth Commission of Porterville. And I got involved with the City Youth Commission because I was given the opportunity to come and help out because I am brigade staff for Porterville Military Academy, and I realized I could use my skills and assets elsewhere to help with the rest of Porterville. That is all for you guys I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To talk? No? Okay. Now we'll move on into the staff informational reports.
Thank you, Your Honor. We do have 3 items before you this evening. We're happy to provide staff reports verbally, or we can answer any questions that you might have.
I'll ask the council, or have you had time to read them? Did you have any questions, or, no? Okay, no questions, no comment? Okay, then we'll move on to the consent calendar. All consent calendar items are considered routine and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these matters unless a request is made, in which event the item will be removed from the consent calendar. All items removed from the consent calendar for further discussion will be heard at the end of scheduled matters. We have items 1 through 21, and I believe 1 was going to be pulled.
It doesn't need to be pulled, but we do want to note that there's a change in the recommendation prior to the council considering it. It's on item number 6. That should, instead of what it reads currently, it should read, considering approval of a contract renewal with Civic Plus at the rate of $10,638.11 for this year. For next year, $11,955.21, with a 5% annual increase each year thereafter. Thank you.
With the noted correction, so we have items 1 through 21, item number 6, revision correction. How does council wish to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items with the noted revisions to number 6.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. No further discussion. Call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. Thank you. We'll now move on into second readings.
Thank you, Your Honor. We do have 2 second readings for you this evening, and the first is for ordinance 1906, and Ms. Andrade will be presenting.
Thank you, Ms. Hildreth, Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, I have ordinance number 1906, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Porterville, amending the official City of Porterville zoning map to rezone approximately 447 acres within the proposed south of Tule River District Master Plan area to residential neighborhood. Zone district consistent with the Porterville 2030 General Plan as amended was given first reading on October 1st, 2024, and has been printed. The recommendation is that the City Council give second reading to ordinance number 1906, waive further reading, and adopt said ordinance.
Thank you. And go with staff recommendation that the city council give a second reading. And second, no further discussion. Call for the vote. Passes unanimous.
May I read by
5-0.
title only?
Please.
Ordinance 1906, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Porterville amending the official City of Porterville zoning map to rezone approximately 447 acres, 19 parcels, within the proposed south of Tule River SO2 District Master Plan area, rezone 2024-001, to residential neighborhood RN zone district consistent with the Porterville 2030 General Plan as amended.
Thank you. Moving on to the next one.
The next one is ordinance 1907 for second reading, and Ms. Andrade will also present this.
Thank you again, Ms. Hildreth, Mayor, members of council. I have ordinance number 1907, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Porterville amending Series 200 and 300 of the Porterville Development Ordinance regarding the employment zone districts IG and IP
was given first reading on October 1st, 2024, and has been printed. The recommendation is that the City Council give second reading to ordinance number 1907, waive further reading, and adopt said ordinance.
Thank you. I will go ahead and make the motion to accept staff recommendation.
I'll second.
And a second. No further discussion. Call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0.
Read by
Please.
title only, ordinance 1907, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Porterville, amending Series 200 and 300 of the Porterville Development Ordinance regarding the Employment Zone Districts IG, General Industrial, and IP Industrial Park.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to scheduled matters.
Yes, Your Honor, the first scheduled matter before you is the consideration of appointments to the Animal Control Commission. And again, Ms. Andrade will be presenting this report.
Thank you again. Tonight I have the Animal Control Commission is an advisory body to the City Council on matters concerning animal control services within the City of Porterville. It is comprised of 5 city residents representing a cross-section of the community who serve staggered 4-year terms. 2 commissioners on the Animal Control Commission have 4-year terms that are set to expire in September 2024, or sorry, that expired in September 2024. Ms. Lacey Goodlet and Mr. Sean Schwarzenberger. These Commissioners Goodlet and Schwarzenberger have indicated their interest in continuing to serve on the commission and have submitted a request for reappointment for the council's consideration. The recommendation is that the City Council consider the reappointment request of Lacey Goodlet and Sean Schwarzenberger for terms expiring in September 2028. That concludes the report, and we're available for questions.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to go forward with staff recommendation if there's no questions.
I'll make a second. No further discussion. Call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. And the last scheduled matter before you this evening is a consideration of process for selection of city manager. With my upcoming retirement in December, staff sought and was provided direction by the City Council to commence a recruitment for a successor city manager. The direction consisted of the preparation and distribution in the September timeframe of a recruitment flyer to set the annual salary range at $200,000 to $225,000, and to advertise the position widely, to include the job board of the National League of Cities, as well as the Cal Cities online magazine, Western Cities. The recruitment did commence in September on the 12th, with a posted closing date of Friday, October 11th at 4 p.m. We did close it at last Friday, and we received 6 applications. At this time, staff seeks direction on how the City Council would like to proceed with the selection process, including interviews and timing of the selection. As to the interview process, executive level recruitments at the city generally follow a process that involves panel interviews comprised of a professional panel. The council could opt to direct the city manager to assemble a professional panel comprised of regional municipal administrators who could conduct initial interviews of all candidates and provide recommendations to the city council. The city council could then conduct applicant interviews in closed session to select the favored applicant or to narrow that field for a subsequent interview. This is one option for the city council to consider. As is standard practice, whichever process is selected, it would be administered by the Human Resources Division, utilizing municipal industry standards to ensure neutrality and confidentiality. Once an applicant is selected, a contract would then be negotiated with that applicant, and the background investigation process would commence. Such negotiations with the applicant would take place at the direction of City Council through the city attorney, who would draft the employment contract. Unlike the City Council member vacancy appointment process, the hiring process of city employees is a confidential one, as applicants and employees have privacy rights. Once negotiations with the applicant are finalized and the background investigation is completed, the contract with the negotiated deal points would be prepared and placed on the City Council's agenda for action in open session. As to timing, because a City Council election does take place on November 5th, and a new City Council will be seated in early December, staff also seeks direction as to the timing of this process. So with that, the recommendation is that the city council consider and determine the selection process for hiring a successor city manager and provide direction to staff. Thank you. I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much for your report. I'm going to bring it to council. There's a lot of thought that has gone into this. Councilmember Beltran, I'll start with you. Any comment,
My only comment is, this is something we've talked about in closed session briefly, but we knew about this a year ago. So just in that process, I do like the option of having executive level recruitment, or, of a panel, professional panel, to help review the candidates. I think that would really help, as they understand that position better than most. So I really appreciate that process. The only other part I didn't know as far as just the timing, we'll just see how long that process takes as far as the interviews. And then I really like, since there are 6, I would imagine possibly the top 3 would then be carried over for council to interview for that final selection.
That would be at the discretion of the city council. The panel could just make recommendations, and then it would be up to the council to determine
To vet those.
who
Okay.
you would like to interview.
Okay.
Or they could prepare a short list. It really is truly your decision.
That's my vision was to make it a short list, because that would be a long process for all 6 candidates to be interviewed by us as well. That's just my overall thoughts on it. And whatever the timing lands as far as the election and seating, it is what it is as far as I'm concerned. I didn't get a say on who I got to work with as far as staff or management. I just work with those individuals regardless. So that's my thoughts, at least for now, on that.
thank you, reserved comment. Okay. Councilmember Wyrock?
I too support a panel of qualified professionals as screeners, and presenting possibly to the council their recommendations and ratings of all the applicants. I'm glad to hear that there were 6 applicants. I'm glad to hear that the choices are longer than just a few. That's always good. I'm sure, quite possibly, they're all very well qualified. I just have a question about something that I read in the agenda and heard again tonight, is after they are offered the position, the background check starts. Should they fail the background check, then we're back to square one, possibly?
No, but that's a really good question. So the way it generally works is, I mean, well, it really would be up to the council, but that you don't have to be starting at square one. Typically, what you would do is you would go, you pick your preferred candidate or applicant to go through the process. If for some reason in background that falls through, then you can work your way down to the next preferred candidate, after that. So that's typically what we try to do. In the ones that I've been involved in, even with other clients, we typically will say, look, there's, we let the other applicants know that there's been somebody else that's been, tentatively being considered as the primary pick, and that will let them know if anything changes. And so that way you're not completely, and granted, they obviously don't have, there's no obligation on their part to wait around either, but that way, you're not necessarily having to start over again. I have had a few where they have needed to start over again, but it really just depends on who is still interested after that point.
Okay.
Thank you. A couple other questions. I've heard that the typical city manager sticks around for a number of years. and not for decades or decade and a half as our previous city manager, Mr. Lawless, did. Do we know what the average time frame is for a city manager in a dynamic city such as
I've heard
our
things
size?
batted around, but I don't have any confirmation on the validity of the numbers. But it's typically at like 5 years or less. You don't see a lot of city managers working anywhere a decade, let alone over that. But at least that's how it used to be. And actually, if anything, just from what, if you believe what you see in the papers, it's probably even shorter these days. But I think that, yeah, Porterville has had, historically had some pretty long-term city managers here.
Guy Huffaker served for 30 years.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Thank you. In my experience in private industry, I think an organization is well-served by hiring slow and hiring the right candidate and not speeding along any process. I don't believe that was the intent of anybody on this council to try to rush anything through. I believe everybody on this council and staff recognize the important role that individual will play to our entire city and the ability of that person to be able to do the actual duties of a city manager. So I'm looking forward to whatever the council decides, but I'm with Councilmember Beltran that we would have a panel possibly put together to get us a short or long list of qualified people, hopefully being able to retain the ones that aren't at the top of the list. Should a background check disqualify or bring somebody's, eliminate their potential here. And that's really all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Meister?
Well, man, we have a fierce election going on. There's no doubt about that, and we kind of saw that tonight. There's a couple things, stances that I've took, and now that we could come out open and talk about where we stand, this is the time I will. So I believe that we should interview all candidates. There's only 6. Personally, I'd like to see them all. I also would like the recommendations. So if we did do that professional panel, I'd like the recommendations from them and then interview all 6 candidates, because, I mean, 6 isn't that long of a list. Also, I'm still not comfortable with raising the salary to $225. We had John Lawless, you could say Honorable John Lawless, for 15 years. And some may say he made sacrifices to work for the city, but in doing so, he topped out at $207,000 a year, I believe was the number. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was about 200.
And so I am more comfortable at keeping it at that realm as we do increases with inflation, the 2% bumps. That's where I want to stay in that process. The simple fact is we have 2 members on this dais that will not be here, and it is a fierce election. Mr. Manny's still in the audience, and with Don and his campaign and Ed McCurvey, I couldn't tell you who's going to win. I don't know, but what I don't want to do is select a city manager who then has a bias against him or rumors that could bring him down, or her, depending on who we hire. So I still take the stance of believing that we extend the limited term position. I think that, I know that there was some people lobbying on you tonight, Patrice. I know I've lobbied on you extending. That is not a desire of yours, and I understand that. But I do believe we have some very qualified people in this room right now that could fill that void. And if we did a 6-month limited term, maybe a year, but with a right to return to their position. And this presents that opportunity for also staff to build their resume and show their worth, show what they can do here running this city. And I do have all confidence that it can be done. When losing John Lawless, I was concerned. Of course, as any of us, right? He was the leader, and 15 years is a long time. And so my worry was what is that transition going to be like? And it's been very smooth. And I know that the staff will continue that effort. I could see that. Also, in the original deal, before John left, he shared his concerns with hiring the city manager before an election because he went through the same process. And his recommendations to us were to find a panel and let the next council decide who that is going to be. So I'll reserve comments from here, but that's where my stance is. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
So I think there's a couple things I want to address just from the comments, but also reading our information here that was provided as an update. As far as transparency, I feel like this couldn't be a more transparent process. And we have been discussing this. Nothing's being rushed. I feel like it's actually gone really slow. And there's been a lot of discussion about considerations of being fair and ultimately finding the best candidate for the city. And this has been discussed since Mr. Lawless made his announcement. That was shocking at the time, and we had to go with that and go with his decision and support that. But what I feel like one thing I felt really strongly about and positive was that he and the team, because the city manager does not do the whole work, the team does, is that there was a succession plan built. And not just John and right under him with the deputy and the assistant, but throughout the team, throughout the directors, throughout all the departments, there's a succession plan being built and has been for years. And that's how when there's a vacancy or a promotion, or somebody recruits to another department, they're able to fill those gaps in the departments with professional, educated, and experienced professionals. So I would like to stay on that path. I would like to keep the recommendations that we discussed as a council together about getting a professional panel that's regional. I like the salary, and the reason is because we had discussed that in the past, and one of the things we found was we were one of the lower paid areas, but we have some of the strongest projects, teams, city manager, and work going on. So I feel strongly about the salary because I would like to keep qualified people and take care of them. That's comparable with the other cities and communities around us. I think, to me, it feels like instead of being pushed, we're being pushed in more of a political manner from some of the comments, because to me, it shouldn't matter who's elected. It should matter who's the most qualified candidate. And by the process that's outlined here and that we've been following, everyone has to apply, they have to be qualified, and then they have to do well in the interview and be successful. Before the city council even comes in to make any decision. So we're not just picking somebody and appointing them, we're going through an entire process. And I feel like we've been very proactive in putting together ideas for a fair process. And I do feel like the city manager is one of the most important roles, but they don't guide the vision, the city council does. And the city council does that off of the community. And the staff carry that out. So those are my comments right now where I stand. And also that this was recruited heavily, and it was also recruited nationally. And we asked for constant updates, and I feel comfortable with the updates that I've received.
Thank you for that. First of all, it's been a process that has been discussed. And coming from an organization where human resources is the tool and the vehicle for any job that is announced and put out in organizations nationally, locally, for people to apply, there is a process that is already in place for human resources to follow. Detaching the both. This is not about who's going to be seated. Those elections will have to be certified, and who knows what the outcome will be at that time. That is a different conversation. But coming back to what is here before us, this interview process is very transparent, which is why we're having the conversation publicly, so that you can hear it. The salary, I am in agreement with it. No ands, ifs, or buts about it, because it's going to be, if it's drawn, it drew 6 applicants. And we'll see where it goes from there. I support the professional panel of city managers. That is a given. They're the ones that are in it every day. They're the ones that are in the city organizational structure. And what's important is a city manager is as good as the staff that is behind them, because they're the ones that he relies on for each department, because they're the ones that are running public safety, the fire department, the police department, the sewer department, the transportation areas, and everything else that comes along with it, finance responsible, planning, everything that goes with the infrastructure of city governance. Now, when we talk about, I come from an organization, again, where human resources was the tool and the vehicle for recruitment and recruiting processes. I support a short list of the top 3. That is my own opinion, because once again, you will have the process that goes before the city managers that will come to us as a council for the top 3. And once again, as far as the timing, those elections have to be certified. That's a different world, right then and there. I respect Mrs. Hildreth for her decision when she publicly stated, I mean, this is my last day. So that's what we're working with, and I'm very grateful and very pleased that this is where we are now. I'm going to bring it back to council so that we can put closure and we can see where this is going to go. Councilmember Beltran.
So if we're going that, I would make the motion that we do the professional panel interview. I personally would like to see the top 3 recommendations, and then for a council to interview those final 3. I'm good with the wages, and I would not ask Mrs. Hildreth to stay on any longer than she has already done. There's a process and leadership that can steady the ship as that transition happens regardless. I want to respect her wishes, and spending time with her family and her commitment to the city would be done at that time. So that's my motion. I don't know if there's any.
You have made a motion?
Yep.
I'm not going to second, because I have to concur with that, and then we can open it up for discussion if there is any, but I'm going to make a second to that motion. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Wyrock?
I think the flyer we put out was very professionally done, laid out the facts for the people, the 6 that decided to apply. I'm looking here at our population of 62,000. I think our 2030 general plan had an estimation of population in 2030 of being over 100,000, maybe even 117,000. And we're going to be moving into the 2050 general plan here in the coming years. To manage a team during that potential growth period is going to be critically important that they hit the ground running. I do appreciate the motion in the second to have a short list of candidates, and I also appreciate Councilmember Meister's request that all candidates be interviewed, the 6 or the 3. But by all candidates, maybe a possibility, council member, would be to at least see the resumes and before we get too far along in that, in a closed session, to where it stays protected. And so that's my only thought. I can't support the motion in the second as written. I would just ask staff to take the time getting this professional panel of, I'm hearing city managers together. If it's all city managers, I think that's appropriate. Then one final thought, with the opportunity to apply, I know that people with the League of Cities would have access to that type of employment opportunity here in Porterville, right? With the League of Cities. Thank you. I see our city attorney nodding her head. Great. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
was flown there, yeah. Councilmember Meister.
No, I do appreciate that it was flown nationally and through the state. That is the process we discussed, and I think that's the way of finding the most qualified candidate. Personally, I do believe I want the professional panel. And are we going to announce who the professional panel is, or is that stay disclosed?
We typically don't.
Okay.
No.
Right.
You don't want advocacy happening with that panel.
Yeah. So me personally, I want to see all candidates. You're talking about hiring the city manager maybe for the next 10 years. I do want the opinions of other city managers and recommendations, because I value those. I value it when I get them from you. And then ultimately, it helps me make an informed decision. But I think all candidates, being that there's only 6, that is a short list for a position like this. With this motion, what I didn't hear was a time frame on hiring the city manager. We're going to set time for interview, and so this is part of the discussion, right? And we need this in the motion. So,
Okay, yeah, well, I mean, it's up to the council. So I believe that Councilmember Beltran specifically didn't include that because I believe in the beginning he had said it takes as long as it takes.
Right, HR department will handle the timing.
Right. I will say this, I know that staff doesn't want to get caught in crossfire of being accused of like delaying, slow playing or speed playing the process. So, I mean, it doesn't mean that we can't do that, but I think if that's happening, there's probably going to be a process where there's updates to the council so that there's an accountability to the council from staff on the length of the process, because we just don't want that to happen, given the circumstances, so.
So from here out, it's going to be closed session information.
Right, it would be. When we start talking about updating once the process is set, then the actual process occurs it's a personnel action, so it'll occur in closed session.
Yeah, I would just end with, me personally, if I was to add anything or amend, the motion is I want all 6 candidates. I do want them still to be interviewed by a professional council or of cities, whatever it is that you guys put forth. I want those recommendations on each candidate. And I don't know if I'm asking, I would ask for the amendment is what I'm asking here. I won't make my own motion.
I'm going to look at legal counsel because the motion has been placed forth and there is a second.
Why don't we do this first, since I know that you're probably going to give, I believe, Vice Mayor an opportunity to speak on this.
Yes,
and
I
yourself
am.
before. Once that happens, then you have 2 choices. You can vote on the motion, or if both the person that made the motion and the person that seconded it want to amend it before voting, you can. But you don't have to. You could vote on that, and then if that doesn't pass, you'd have an alternative motion.
Yeah, so that would be my ask.
Okay.
I also, this dais can flip. There can be 3 new seats, and we got to really think about the bias that could be pushed upon the new city manager and what that looks like from our decision today. Thank you.
Vice Mayor, please.
I think just a couple questions. So I've been on large panels and things like that, and there's one that we're having to discuss with the state right now, and it's 30 candidates, and they're interviewing the top 3 because it's a lot. It sounds like 6 is not a lot, but it's a lot of time and resources. So my question is, if we did the top three, and then we, as a city council, outside of the professional recommendations, wanted to review the resumes, when are we, like, overlapping into what's not our role? Because I feel like that's a screening piece.
Yeah.
And human resources, because there could have been.
No, under this circumstance, I believe that really it's as much or as little as you wish. You can you're really delegating when you're utilizing a panel, which is a
Okay.
totally appropriate thing to do here, but you don't have to. So
Okay.
you could do all of that, yourself.
Okay.
If you
That's
wanted
why
to.
I was asking,
I
so,
will say, if I may, Vice Mayor, so in a typical recruitment, yes, there are screenings that take place at the HR level.
okay,
And they look for making sure that the applicant meets the minimum qualifications of the job.
Right.
Because this is so politically charged, staff is not going to play that role. And there's 6 applicants. And
Okay.
so I feel very strongly that it go to, the council for consideration of those, either those 6 or however you want to handle the professional panel.
because my initial thought would be there was probably more than 6 applicants, and then some of them don't get through if they weren't screened, but I think.
If that was the
what's-
case, you would have heard about it.
And then I also thought, because of what city manager just said, they don't want that role because of how, okay. And then there was one other comment that got brought up. I was gonna, the time frame. I feel like I'm not thinking about the new council members. I'm thinking about the job we still have right now. So I'm thinking in my head as operations and administration piece and obligations, I would like any time of overlap or anything while Patrice is still here, even if it's the very end. But if that's, I know that timeline's probably not going to work. But I know that's something, and I really admire that. And I do want to say this, that I feel like anytime there has been turnover, the city has been very, worked really hard to have that overlap. I even remember the finance position and trying to have that, and worked really hard at having that kind of overlap. But yeah, I don't know that that's going to be possible. So I'm okay with the recommendations.
You're okay with the recommendation of the motion?
Of the motion and second.
Okay. Then.
So you're now at the point, you've got a motion and a second on the table. So obviously you can vote on the motion without further discussion. Or you could, if either the maker of the motion or the one that wants to, or second it, want to consider amending it, they can, they don't have to.
Well, if I could make one more comment, since I made the initial motion and hearing some feedback, I think, I don't know if this option could be added, I'm not going to state it as added, but just a question of possibly adding all 6 candidates' resumes to council before the professional panel. We got the recommendation of the top 3 candidates. So as to Councilman Meister's point, to just at least see who maybe he did not make the list of maybe, I don't want to kind of prolong the process, but maybe, I don't know if there's a way that we felt confident with, there's somebody that we might want to, we felt could have made that list but didn't. Yeah.
I want to.
That's only going to create more controversy.
Right, that's what I'm kind of don't.
It's, I personally,
No, and I want to stay in alignment with human resources because we don't want to cross lines as to what can and what can't once they're submitted. And we have to be careful with that.
I think it's silly to not review all 6, to just go with 3 when you only have 6 candidates. We're still going to get the recommendations. Why wouldn't you want to visit and see each candidate? It just, that's my opinion. That's my ask. Let's move forward.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. I'll call for the
So,
vote.
well, real quick, I just need
Yes.
clarification. Did you clarify your motion?
No, that was just conversation, but then my motions, the initial motion to
Remains.
state remains.
Okay, all right.
We have a
thank you.
motion and a second.
The motion
Sure.
that, sure, you want the motion restated?
Yes,
Would you want to
please do.
restate it?
Yeah, I could restate it.
Okay, no, go for it.
That a professional panel is assembled to interview all 6 candidates. We will get their top 3 recommendations, and then council will then interview those 3 remaining candidates
With the salary okay.
with the salary stated.
Okay,
And Patrice still can retire.
so Patrice can
Without-
retire.
yes.
No, we're getting, that's, okay, we have the motion, we have a second. Let's just call for the vote. Passes 3-2.
And for the record, the salary is a range, so it's not
Okay.
a set salary, just so that there's no misunderstanding. The range that was proposed is 200 to 225, so.
Okay, it has passed for 3-2, and we will now go on to the AB 1234 reports. This is the time for all AB 1234 reports required pursuant to Government Code 53232.3. I'm going to pull number 3 and put that under other matters because number 3 was not a meeting. So we'll start with Councilmember Beltran with Link.
The link meeting was held on October 2nd at 3 o'clock. There was a welcome and introduction once again. Minutes were approved from the previous meeting. The brief budget was given. It's $9,584.65. There wasn't an update because we had just done a fundraiser, so the money is being counted, and that should be updated in our next meeting. During the budget process, there was also a motion and vote approval to purchase 324 winter clothing items for $100. The next one was Navigation Center update. Kingsview is still working on hiring 2 staff members to oversee the mobile showers and restrooms. 2 were initially hired, but 1 left for another opportunity. As much as the showers and restrooms are a needed service, having regular and consistent access is vital, so they are continuing to work on that issue. Another issue was brought up about towel usage and who would wash or distribute towels. Members are looking into how that will work. PSW was mentioned as they offer washing services, so other volunteers are also looking into how to address that concern. There was no subcommittee update. Upcoming events, the winter coat giveaway will be held on November 13th. That's a month away. Currently, volunteers are working to sort and wash coats. They are volunteering. Volunteers will meet on October 25th and 26th at the Navigation Center to sort and go through those. Coats can still be dropped off at City Hall, Central California Crisis Center, or the Trinity Lutheran Church. In other matters, the SMART team shared a situation with an individual in an encampment. They were experiencing severe health issues. The Trinity Lutheran and other donations were made to put the individual up in a motel. It was recognized that hospice or other extensive health care facility is in need in the area. Numerous efforts are being made to try and find those resources for this individual. Stakeholder survey, which is going around from the development, planning department, those surveys were given out to all the member agencies as that directly affects their services and their input going forward. That was all. The next meeting will be held November 6th.
Councilmember Beltran, thank you for all the participation and everything on that link committee. It's important, and it is appreciated, doesn't go unnoticed. The Eastern Chile Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Councilmember Wyrock.
The GSA met on Thursday, October 3rd at 2 p.m. here in council chambers. There was a brief meeting with closed session on some existing litigation with no report out. Public comment, we had no public comment. Announcements, there were no announcements. There was a public hearing on a couple of things with the groundwater extraction fee and a water rate study. After reviewing both of those, it was approved that we raise the groundwater extraction fee by about 20%. We had a public hearing on that extraction fee and any written protests, and then we closed the public hearing and we took the action to approve resolution 2024-04, setting the groundwater extraction fee. The consent calendar was approved, ratification of bills paid and was approved. We took a look at water year 2025 sustainable yield and Tier 1 penalty allocations. We had a report of invoices that have gone out. We took action setting the Tier 1 penalty rates. We took action to review Thomas Harder and Company's land subsidence report and determination. That was kind of an interesting presentation where he showed the different areas within the Eastern Tule GSA where subsidence has occurred, where future subsidence is most likely to occur. There was some discussion into the aquifer and whether areas to the west of us may be drawing down the aquifer, causing local land to subside. We had a presentation on a trust, an update of people wanting to protect the watershed via trust. We had a report from Fort Creeks on their accounting and invoicing, and then some landowner outreach that the management team took to talk to the people using the groundwater. There was a little bit of a discussion about a new well coming in at a greater depth than what is typical, and this greater depth because of the drawdown of that water would possibly cause greater subsidence. So there was a recommendation, and we did not approve that well. And the county is working on outlining their requirements for new wells in the area to possibly not even go as deep. We received a report on state advocacy efforts. We have a law firm that's interacting with all of the different agencies, up at the state level, trying to advocate to keep our local control of our groundwater and to keep the rates as low as possible. And then we had some reports from the committees that met during that previous month. We had the Finance Committee, Stakeholder Committee, Executive Committee, and Land Subsidence Monitoring Committee. Just before we adjourned, there was a mention of I want to get the term right, residual subsidence. Apparently, at the state level, there's some discussion that some land will drop and it'll stay that way. So what does the state want to do about that? And so there's some rules that are being looked at by a group of people, and the board decided to allow one of our experts, Tom Harder, to be a part of that communication in order to protect our interests, to make sure we actually understand what this agency is trying to do on this residual residence that's occurring in the area. The next meeting date is Thursday, November 1st at 2 p.m., and that'll happen here in the council chambers.
Thank you very much for that report. Military Banner Committee meeting, Councilmember Meister or Vice Mayor Carrillo? Okay.
The Military Banner Committee met on October 9th at 11 a.m. Minutes were approved from the previous meeting, which took place April 24th. Then there was a scheduled matter regarding retired banner retention. Over 150 retired banners of sponsors not picking them up are currently being stored by Parks and Leisure. The committee voted unanimously to place a 3-year retention deadline, followed by having them recycled. So we thought that was a really good plan to have the recycling piece added. The next item related to fulfilling late renewal requests. Although there's a deadline for those wishing to renew their retired banner, many people miss that deadline and then still request that their banner be put back up in the same location as soon as possible. The committee voted unanimously to enforce the renewal deadline while emphasizing it's more of the banner location renewal. The sponsor's location will be replaced by a new applicant if they miss the renewal deadline. They would still be able to get a banner, they just wouldn't be able to keep that location because it holds up the process for others to that have followed the process and timeline. Next, statistics were provided on work orders. This is really beneficial and helpful when they provide these updates. There's been 110 military banner-related work orders received in 2024. These range from banners that have fallen due to wind, banners and hardware being damaged due to vehicle-related accidents, vandalism, and other circumstances. The final scheduled matter was a 2025 program outlook. The new application period will be December 1st through February 1st, with the price remaining still at $260. There are 215 banners up for renewal from the 2020 at a cost of $160. East Olive Avenue and South Plano Street will be the locations where the majority of the renewals and new banners get installed. That meeting adjourned at 12:01. The next scheduled meeting is April 23rd, 2025. This meeting was my last military banner committee meeting as a council member, and I just express gratitude to the staff and the other committee members because when I first got on, I didn't know really like what I could offer, what perspectives, and kind of wasn't very familiar with the program. But becoming a part of it was really beneficial because I've always admired the banners in our city. I didn't realize how many we had. I didn't realize the website that tracked all the information and the level of work that our staff does to have these created in a very respectful manner. And then all the policies that we've developed and protocols during the time that I was on here and that even previous to me had been put in place. And basically to have meaningful banners for the military families. So, yeah, I was just very grateful to serve on this committee.
Thank you. We'll now move on into oral communications. Is there anybody that would like to come forth under oral communications? No? Do we have anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, other matters. I want to make an acknowledgement, and I'm going to ask Javier, Sarah, Claudia, Donnie, and to please stand because, please, it is an honor to have been on the Santa Fe Byway Trail. Who else are we missing? Jason and everybody else? No, Fernando, of course, Fernando. No. The city of Porterville just recently had the ribbon cutting for the Santa Fe Byway. The next day, the city of Porterville was recognized for the Bike and Pedestrian Project through the TCAG Local Motion Awards, and they are the force to work with the partners. So I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. And I know there are others that were there too, but I can't, but again, you were the driving force for that. And I know you didn't want to go up there, Donnie, but you did. But thank you for that, because City of Porterville was recognized and honored for the TCAG Local Motion Award for the Bike and Ped Project. We'll now go into other matters. Councilmember Beltran. Shannon, I'm rooting for you. Okay? On your time.
I just want to share some things in the community. The fall cleanup will be held this Saturday from 8 to 2 p.m. at the Corporation Yard. That's for city residents to take a utility bill to show residency. Also, the 42nd Annual Springville Apple Festival will be held that Saturday as well from 8 to 4. Let's see. On October 22nd, the city will also be doing an outreach. That's a Tuesday at 5:30 p.m., I believe, here in City Council chambers for regarding ADA efforts. There'll be a consultant and a transition plan, but we're seeking public's input on that matter. A reminder also, as of October the 1st, we have transitioned to one watering day. If you're an odd address, that's on a Saturday. If you're even, that's on a Sunday, just as we were going into the fall season. I attended the annual 4-H breakfast over at the fairgrounds. I just want to recognize all those volunteers. Many have been doing it for 30, 40 years to support the local 4-H groups, parents turn into grandparents, or 4-H member now turn into parents that are supporting their kids now. And it's just an annual event in our community. It's just great to see that effort still strong. Halloween will be in 2 more weeks. Just ask that people be safe, drivers be safe. And I recommend attending community events. As I drive throughout the community on that day, there's a lot of dangerous areas, whole streets you almost can't pass because there's so many pedestrians wearing dark clothing. My suggestion is just take advantage of any kind of community church events that are lighted, they're safe. There's plenty of fun to be had that night, and just please be safe, parents. When you're showing your kids around, please teach them good habits of walking on the sidewalks, and just be safe for everybody out there. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wyrock.
Just a couple of items. I'd like to thank the commissions and the committees and the board reports, Parks, Library, Literacy Commission, the youth. These commissions made up of volunteers are a big part of our success as a city. I appreciate them showing up and doing the work and reporting out to us. There's a couple of jobs posted on the bulletin board out there. One is for a code enforcement officer. Another one is for administrative aid in our housing program. They're both good jobs. The city is known for having an employment opportunity to where you can actually work your whole career here if you perform well. So just wanted to make people aware of those 2 jobs. Next, it was noted that I voted no on the city manager process. I said during the comment period that I believe we should hire slow and hire for the long term. We didn't quite set up a deadline or a timeline of that, but we're already in the middle of October. By the time a panel gets selected, by the time the panel gets the interviews set up for 6 different interviews, by the time the council reviews them, even if it's a preliminary with the existing council, with the new council coming in, first part of December, that's only 6 weeks away. That time frame is going to go fast. It's nice to have these activities teed up. We don't have the panel set, I mentioned that, and just the coordination and recommendation. So I think the new council will have an opportunity to select the new city manager. There was no motion to nominate somebody to be the city manager tonight with a second and a vote. And, you know, in regards to if the process goes fast, when a new council is seated, they pick the city managers from what I'm told, and they can ask to start the whole process all over again. So that's the reason why I voted no. I believe the process is good, but I want to make sure that we take our time, really vet the candidates. The background checks can take some time. So I think the new council will be seated by the time we get through this process. And then lastly, I have noticed it is darker in the mornings, we all have. And Councilmember Beltran mentioning the trick-or-treating, but the schools are open. You know, sometimes the kids are on the streets at 7:30, 8 o'clock, getting dropped off and walk to school. And we've got a time change coming up where it's going to be even darker, right, fall back. So just be careful on the streets, be careful around our schools. Please drive defensively, drive smart, stay off your cell phones when you're driving. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Meister.
Well, I think we missed it tonight. I think we should have had the panel of all 6 candidates for the city manager. And with them doing that professional interview process, we would have had a ranking of what they thought was best, but we still would have got to vet all candidates. And that's the proper way to do it. That's my opinion. I think we missed it on that one. We'll see if you're correct, Councilman Wyrock, on the process. Over the past 4 years, the border ICE agents, Border Patrol have encountered 10 million illegal immigrants crossing our border. And, you know, really what I want to point out is the whistleblowers from ICE, the FBI, exposing the administrative state. ICE came out with some numbers that I believe is treasonous against the administration that is in office now. 425,000 convicted criminals, 13,000 convicted of homicide, 15,000 convicted of sexual assault that were released into our country. It's very sad, and that's not to mention the gotaways. So it's frightening times, and like I said, to the FBI whistleblowers, to ICE, the agents across this nation that are exposing the administrative state, I am greatly appreciative, and I just want to say thank you to them. On a happy note, I received a call from a lady who is in a wheelchair. Her name is Nancy Bears, and she uses our microtransit system. And of course, with us pulling out of the TCRTA, there has been some hiccups, but she just expressed her gratitude for the kindness of the employees of the city of Porterville and the transit system at the transit center, how clean the atmosphere is. She's very appreciative of the work that is being done, and that contributes to all of you in this room. So thank you for that, and with that, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
I have no comments or updates this evening.
Thank you. All right. Shannon, I'm still rooting for your time, okay? I had the opportunity on October the 8th to go on air with La Ley. It's a Spanish-speaking radio program, Mujer a Mujer. It's starting slow. It will be on the issue of domestic violence, and we will be addressing, Laura Arredondo and I will be addressing that subject matter, and we'll see where it goes from there. It hasn't been put out yet. We just recorded the session, and it's something that, you know, the advocacy that I have always had, the passion, and we will be starting with the first one, and we're inviting other organizations to come in, and it will be a question and answer. It started in a conversation, and we said, why not? And we did, and we recorded it all in Spanish. And I'll get to hear it soon, and we'll see where it goes from there. The employee luncheon, that was fabulous. I mean, to see everybody out there at a certain time. Even we just decided that chief of police and assistant, his assistant, they're not going to handle the napkins. They're going to be left on another assignment, but you don't get to do that. You stay, public safety, you protect us, our city and everything, but you don't get to do that. You did good with the barbecue sauce when you were at your station, and you wouldn't leave because you got sidetracked, and then I was like, okay, that's not my responsibility. Donnie, I want to thank you for holding my station, but you know, it's good, it was all good. It's such a good camaraderie, but everyone that was there, it was well received, and it was a good time, and such an appreciation for all staff. And we won't say which department had people coming back for seconds, but Donnie and I weren't keeping count, okay? They were, weren't they, Donnie? Okay, moving on with that. I did have the pleasure of attending the Sierra View District Hospital Foundation fundraising event last Saturday, but as you know, I will always support the foundation for the vision and the mission that it has, having served on the hospital board years ago. Sarah Villacana, I want to acknowledge you and thank you for going back to reporting journalism for the Porterville Recorder. I have missed you. I have missed you. You were always everywhere. And I can see that that's going to make a difference in the reporting. So I'll see you around, okay? All right, Patrice, we got to keep Shannon's time, okay?
Right, that's why I have nothing further.
Fernando, is there anything you have to say? No. Okay, it is 8:00.